Okay, so I've hit the button. I think it's working, but you never really
Mhm.
tell with YouTube, you know? At least not
Yeah,
straight away.
YouTube is pretty fucky. Like, I was thinking of, starting to stream on, either YouTube or Twitch, and, uh, my co-host is thinking, like, maybe Twitch 'cause, it's just, like, a bit more reliable of a streaming service,
I
kind of.
mean, it's easier to use, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also like a lot more draconian. Like YouTube will demonetize you, but they generally don't ban you. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
Twitch will ban you for fucking anything, you know?
Yeah, now, like, they say they're gonna ban people who, like, just talk about terrorism or what the fuck ever, which is, like, all of Twitch politics just fucked.
Is that actually going to include Antifa?
Yeah, it'll include pretty much everyone who I imagine talks about terrorism, because white nationalist terrorism is also terrorism. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, of course. No,
yeah.
it's strange to think of because like if you're a news guy and you're discussing terrorist events, regardless of the actual political persuasion of the terrorists involved, I mean that's still a legitimate topic of conversation, you know?
You would think, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but, Twitch just doesn't want that on their platform, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it does seem like we're running. It does seem like things are up. So hi everyone.
Mm.
I'm talking to AnYork. You go by AnYork, basically.
Yeah, I used to go by another name, but when I started doing YouTube, I, changed it to something more appropriate, I guess.
Oh, you
So
do
yeah.
YouTube?
Yeah, I do a podcast called, The Doomer Pipeline with my, co-hosts Kenny Sue and, Danny, and we're all pretty much lefties, and we talk about politics and, drama and fun shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's something like well, it does seem like lefty YouTube is kind of ascendant right now, the way that alt right YouTube was in like 2017. You know?
Yeah, um, I feel like there's always gonna when it comes to online politics and just politics in general, there's always gonna be, like, some kind of reaction from the other side. Right now, like before we used to think that, like, the conflation of liberals and lefties in 20 during the Obama years. So there was like this ascendance of like right wing shit. And now that we've had 4 years of like Trump and like far right politics, uh there seems to be a new ascendance of left wing shit. It just always keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm sure what would happen is if I mean he's not much of a leftist, but if Biden were to get elected, the left would probably go back to sleep, and then you'd probably have like another Tea Party in a few years. Like
Um
things seem to work cyclically like that, you know?
I don't agree with that. I shouldn't be so like simplistic about it. Like even during the Obama years, like there was an ascendant right, but like I mean, the Occupy movement happened during the Obama years,
Yeah.
that and also Black Lives Matter and a bunch of other, like, mass, like, left-leaning movements happened during the Obama years. It's it's a much more complicated dynamic than just, like, one side is in power, then the other side ascends. It's
Yeah,
more of a
definitely.
ebb and flow.
Like with Obama, I think what happened was a lot of people on the left who actually bought into the whole hope and change thing. They just got really bitter that there was no hope and no change. Like Obama didn't
Oh,
do
yeah.
anything. Obama was like George Bush terms 3 and 4.
Um, in some ways, yeah, like in, a lot of foreign pol w well, that but even in a lot of foreign policy, Obama was, like, better than Bush. Um Well, in terms of the Iran nuclear deal, that was like a historic fucking agreement that's got Iran like back into the fold of geopolitics, basically. Um, and I do like I prefer Obama over Bush because Bush is I'm a lefty, so I'm gonna prefer the person more leaning to the left over the right winger. But
Hmm.
in a sense, like oh yeah, Obama did do a lot of like continue a lot of the same like neocon policies, but in a lot of other ways he like still improve things. It's just it just gets really annoying because a lot of lefties, especially like to conflate like Republicans and Democrats as if they're the same thing. They're not. Like there are very clear like differences between the two.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Man, just out of curiosity, how old are you?
I am 26.
So are you old enough to remember, like, with a lot of clarity, the Bush years?
Wait, no, I'm 25. I'm fucking stupid. Sorry. Yeah. Nah.
25.
I
I
I
mean,
remember the Bush years, but very vaguely. I was pretty young.
yeah, I'm a bit older than you. George Bush was my high school president, and then Obama was my college president. So I'm
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm like the next wave back. And man, I remember how people on the internet hated George Bush.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you go on Newgrounds and you'd find like beat up Bush flash games and shit like that. And it's
yeah,
strange because now I see people who are like they're Biden voters. They're like, "Well, Bush wasn't that bad." It's like, "Fuck you.
yeah.
Bush was a
No,
war criminal."
no, no. Listen, fuck Bush, and also fuck the actual president Cheney. Um, like no, Bush was fucking awful. Fuck anyone who's like trying to reform his image or whatever. Like, no. Um, God, fuck. And you know when Trump gets out of office, they're gonna try to reform his fucking image too. Oh my.
Yeah, and you know what? They did it to Obama. They're gonna do it to Trump. It's gonna happen. That's how the presidency works. It seems.
Yeah.
You know.
Um.
Yeah. But yeah,
uh,
like I was. Let's see. I was a supporter of Obama for 2008, and then for 2012, I really would have rather have seen Ron Paul become ascendant, but that didn't happen. And so it was like 2012 was like a, well, whoever wins we lose kind of thing, because by
yeah.
then I knew just how bad Obama was.
Oh well,
Um
that's another thing about Obama actually is that sorry for interrupting, but
yeah, no problem.
uh Obama after Obama we got Bernie, who was like way to like the best chance for an actual leftist president to ever get in the White House. Um. So like there was a revitalization of like a leftist movement under Obama, kind of.
Yeah, I think it was because that they expected leftism out of Obama and they didn't get it, and then they were like, well, we got to do
Yeah.
something else. You know, it's almost like there's been a splintering in the Democratic Party where it wants to go two ways, and it's trying to
Uh,
do both, and it's not working.
there's most definitely splintering in the Democratic Party right now. Well, it's kind of like it's also very much a generational divide. Like the new young people are coming in, like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman is now won his primary. Um, Cory Bush, they're coming in, and like the older, more establishment, like neoliberal types are slowly being phased out as the new young, fresh, like basically sock Dems. Some call themselves Dem sock. Lefties are coming in.
Here, before we get any further, just so that we know what we're talking about,
Mhm.
where do you feel like you fall politically?
Um,
And don't use terms left or right, because that is it's literally just Overton window based. Like, let's talk about the
yeah.
political philosophy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, politically, usually just call I would most accurately be described as anarcho-syndicalist, anarcho-communist. I just call myself an anarchist. Um, Generally, I really like freedom. I really like democracy. I really like socialism. Um, and I really like the Enlightenment liberal values of equality, fraternity, and brotherhood. And I think that's the best way to do this is through a state skeptical form of socialism.
All right. Where I am is, and you might not think this based on my Twitter, but I don't actually take Twitter seriously. I just shit post on it. Like, I don't give a fuck about Twitter.
As you should.
Like, I did like a George Floyd fentanyl joke on Twitter, and people were like, "Oh my god!" It's like, dude, I'm shit posting. I'm shit. Come on, man.
Uh,
But politically, where my serious politics are, I kind of, depending on the topic, will fluctuate between libertarian, classical liberal, and social liberal. And I think social liberals are pretty close to social democrats.
yeah, they are. Kind of social democracy was originally was supposed to be like a form of reformist socialism, and then over time it just it's more closer to a form of liberalism now. It's complicated, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh god, the chat. Devo's a socialist. No. Okay, okay. I have been called both a fascist and a communist by people on like the opposing sides, and I'm like, listen, it can't be both of them, guys.
Maybe you're an Oswald.
Nazbol.
Dude, have you ever seen like videos of Alexander Dugin?
I don't know who that is.
He's the founder of like the Nazbo movement of in Russia.
Oh my fuck! I gotta look this up. Hold on.
Yeah, funny fucking dude. Um, totally insane, but I love him.
Oh, are you a Nazbol?
Oh fuck no, God no, fuck those guys.
Like, what is their deal anyway? Like, I don't fucking get it.
So, how much do you know about fascism?
A fair
Like,
bit, but I know a lot about classical fascism because when I was in university, I didn't have to. I took a course on basically like early 1900s politics, but anything like beyond World War II,
yeah.
I know some, but I'm not an expert.
So, um, here's fascism is kind of like very incoherent in its philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of it is like complete nonsense. Like the Nazis literally believed the Aryans were a fucking race of 10-foot tall supermen who fucking strode the lands and created all the races. Really ridiculous shit.
Yeah.
Um, but like my friend Post Comprehension did a really good video called Fascism, where he said there's a through line between all fascist movements. It's this thing called palingenetic ultranationalism. And
Mm-hmm.
this idea that there's this imagined past and we need to return to it, and you know and we need to get rid of all the people in the fucking country that have just caused this degeneration in order to return to the imagined past. And that's kind of with Nazbols, they have that imagined past, but to them it's like Stalinist Russia.
Yeah, I mean that actually, from within the insanity of that philosophy, that sounds like it makes sense. Because
Yeah.
if the past literally is the USSR and you want to go back to that, well, you're simultaneously going back and going forward from a socialist perspective. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, okay, all right.
Yeah. Even though I wouldn't consider the USSR, especially under Stalin, to be socialist. Fuck
Well,
that.
I guess we should probably talk about the things that we obviously agree on. Like neither of us are tankies, right?
No, no.
No, and I'm sure we can agree. Like it's funny because I have met both Holocaust deniers who seem insane, and they probably are insane. And then
Very
I've
likely.
I've also met like Holodomor deniers, and it's like, well, hold on,
Which is ridiculous because even
yeah,
Stalin said that, like, yeah, it's happening.
yeah. So I assume that you're not in that camp then.
No, I
Yeah,
argue with tankies a lot.
yeah. The tankies are fucking cancerous, dude.
I made a video on our channel actually about how like the left needs to just like purge tankies from our movement. Like we shouldn't have anything to do with them.
Yeah. See, I recall. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm actually Canadian, so I can't vote in your elections. However, I do like support various candidates in the
Well,
same way that
mhm.
Americans like support various Canadian prime ministers. Like you can
No,
you
we
can
don't.
well no well you can line up like philosophically with them, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. You don't like I wouldn't want to vote in your elections. It's not
Yeah,
my
yeah.
country, but
Well,
you know what I mean.
when we annex Canada, then you're gonna get your vote. Don't worry.
You know, I wouldn't mind if the United States annexed Canada but just left the healthcare intact. I'd be like, perfect, do it. I'm seriously down. Dude,
Yeah, I wouldn't
like
really care. I mean, I'm for open borders, so I probably wouldn't care either.
you're for open borders.
Well, yeah, I'm an ANCOM. Like, one day I want us to have like open borders. We can't have open borders now. Like, if we do, like that'd be impossible. We just don't have the infrastructure yet. But over a very long time, we can
I mean, yeah,
loosen
yeah,
things up.
that is like the common argument against open borders. Like you don't get to have a social safety net if everyone from the third world can just come there and use it and not contribute to it. Like it'll just
Um,
collapse.
yeah,
So
actually, the thing with that argument is that, like, there are studies that show that, immigrants actually take less out of the social safety net than, like, do, native citizens.
Yeah, for sure. Like there are definitely instances where that happens. Like if you have a legal immigrant, they generally have had to go through the hoops and they have to already have proven themselves to be productive to actually come into another country. But if you're just
Oh,
born there, you can just have been born there, right? So that definitely makes sense. But
um,
it's not the whole picture though, because there are definitely, in terms of the United States specifically, there's definitely illegal immigrants, and that's a completely different topic.
well, even illegal immigrants still add, like, a lot to the economy, which is why a lot of, economists suggest, giving illegal immigrants amnesty.
Mhm.
Um, I think immigration as it is now is pretty fine. I think if I remember correctly, coming in and out, the net rate of immigration is 1 to 3 million a year. Like, that's fine. We can support that. But we can't have open borders now. Like, there'd be hundreds of millions coming in, and we just can't. Our safety net just doesn't have the ability to support that.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's a different situation in the UK, I know, because they're
Mhm.
taking in way more immigrants than their population can sustain. But yeah, 1 to 3 million on a population of 300 million actually seems kind of reasonable, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm
Uh,
I'm not like people have called me a fucking ethno nationalist, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I,
oh,
I'm not like a no immigration ever, preserve the
so,
white race. No.
what? So tell me about how much you, want Lebensraum for,
Mm. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
like fucking Lilith Lovett, who I hang out, if you know who she is, I hang out with her a lot.
yeah, she's cool.
She's like, every trap needs a fashy daddy, and I'm like, all right, okay, dude. That was
Okay.
obviously a troll though. Like she's very
Yeah,
like
yeah.
libertarian, you know.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'll give this to Lilith Lovett. She's, like, one of the actual, like, libertarians, I feel. Like, uh, during this whole, protest shit, she's the only one that hasn't been, like, a complete bootlicker towards, the police and shit. So I respect her for that. I'd still disagree with her on a lot of other stuff, but you know what? In the sense of, like, she's an actual freedom lover, I respect it.
Hmm. Like I've had this argument with some people, some other YouTubers that I kind of hang around with, and I've always been like, listen. So it does turn out that some of these cases, at least like not all of them, but some of them, it turns out that the police action was justified after the fact. Okay, fine. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be skeptical of police action in the moment, because skepticism should be the default situation. Like that should be your default reaction. If you see a situation where a police officer has to shoot somebody, and then it turns out 6 months down the road after the trial or the investigation or whatever it is that it was actually justified shooting, in the moment you should still be skeptical because they're the ones who overwhelmingly have the power.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And, like, even it's so weird to me because a lot of these, people who defend police officers, market themselves as skeptics. It's like, okay, shouldn't you be most skeptical of those who hold, like, power over the citizenry?
Here we go in the chat. Floyd died of an overdose. I think Floyd died of both. Like, if we're gonna get, we might as well just talk about a specific situation. Fine, all right.
Yeah,
There are people who
okay,
are
Floyd.
like, George Floyd died of an overdose, and it's like, I
You know
mean,
what can exacerbate an overdose, idiot in chat? Having your neck pressed on
yes,
by a dude.
yeah,
That
yeah.
that might be a problem.
Like the people who say that George Floyd died of an overdose, yes, but that's not the whole story. People who say that the police killed George Floyd, it's more like they were. I would call it negligent homicide. And I would call it negligent homicide because police are not just police officers, they're
Yeah.
also first responders. And they have a responsibility higher than the average citizen once they've arrested somebody.
Yeah,
So
but the thing is oh, sorry to interrupt, but, like, the thing
yeah.
is that, a lot of, have you ever seen those things of, like, police training in certain states?
Hmm.
Like, in Louisiana, it takes, like wait, I have, like, 1,200 hours in Europa Universalis 4. It takes a third of that to become a police officer. A third of that training. Like, there's such little, like, training that goes into becoming a cop, it's insane.
Yeah, yeah. So you know who Jocko Willink is?
I heard the name,
Yeah, so
but
he doesn't really do political content, but he's like a former Marine and he does like self-empowerment videos on YouTube, that kind of thing, right? He has like a podcast.
I
Um he,
I
he
know where I heard the name from now. It's, he was doing a PragerU video.
Yeah, he has done some PragerU videos, yeah. But like, if you listen to him talk about politics ever, he's like slightly right of center, but he does also agree with the left quite a bit. Like he's that kind of a guy. Um,
Right.
but one thing that he said, because he was on Crowder's show, and he said that the Marines spend half of their total time training and half of their total time working. Meanwhile, the police spend 4 days out of the year training and the rest of those days in the job.
Yep.
And that's why the Marines fuck up a lot less than the police do. And it's
Yeah.
like, maybe if the cops spent half their time fucking training, which would take, by the way, more funding, and the left doesn't like to talk about funding the police, but if that's where the funding went, maybe you'd have better police officers, you know?
Okay, so defunding the police thing is actually like pretty complicated. So in some areas, yeah, the police do need more funding. Like this is something lefties shit on Biden. It's like, oh, he wants to give police more funding. It's like, yeah, but where does he want to give police more funding? Like, is it to have body cams for all police that can never be turned off? You need more funding for that.
Yep.
Is it to have better training for police? You need more funding to that. So the thing, and my co-host Kenny said this is like we shouldn't say defund the police because that sounds really really bad as as a slogan. What we should say is more community, less police. Take police a lot of the job police do and spread out more towards the community, so we have less of these like bad situations happening.
Yeah, and there's obviously a problem. This is not so much a problem here in Canada, but there's obviously a problem in the States where police officers are policing neighborhoods they don't live in, so they don't really give a shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's I don't know personally, but I hear that's a problem in the
It-
United States.
I don't I don't know a lot about Canadian politics, but from what I heard is that like a lot of the native communities in like Canada are treated really badly by police.
Oh yeah, dude, it's fucking terrible up here.
Oh shit.
It's fucking terrible up here. Um, but there's like a twofold problem when it comes to Canada's native communities. Like they are treated very badly by the
Hmm.
powers that be, and no one's gonna fucking deny that unless you're like completely out of touch or something. However,
Yeah.
they also refuse integration like entirely. They do not want to be part of Canada. And it's like, okay, well, fair enough, but you still want like money from the Canadian government. You still want to like at least live off of the Canadian government in some
Yeah.
capacity. It's like, well, you can either be Canadian citizens or you're not, and if you're not, well then, like, what do you want from us? You know?
So Native American thing is really complicated because we have a very basically America's history with Native Americans is just we sign a bunch of treaties with them, we break those treaties and steal all their land, then we sign another treaty with them and then break those treaties and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, same here,
Um
same here.
yeah.
But
So like
like, it,
but
the
with Native
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Americans, yeah, sorry. I understand how a lot of people feel. They're like, oh, these people were treated really, really shittily throughout history. They were massacred en masse. They lost a lot of their culture and were forced against their will to integrate into like the larger hegemonic American culture.
Mhm.
Um, and I agree. I think we can both agree that's bad, not poggers. Um,
To a point. Like I've talked to some native people who have actually said outright, like, despite all the problems, I'd rather live in a Western liberal democracy with the advancements that 2020 has given us in technology than still be living, in the wild. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. There are some good
oh,
things that have come with modern living.
yeah, there's some good things, but like we can both agree, you could get those good things without genociding a bunch of people.
Um,
Uh,
was it a genocide? I thought it was like just natural. They didn't have the immune system to basically get it wasn't smallpox. I mean, smallpox was in the blankets, but like it's other things too.
Yeah,
I
smallpox and bubonic plague and shit.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
it was disease,
yeah.
and a lot of it was also just like displacement by the state into like small sections that have like no value at all.
Yeah,
But
once you've lost 90% of your population, you can't really fight back. So yeah.
there were a few like chance to fight back, but they never had a chance basically. Also, before the settlers came, like native population was never gonna get as big as like the population in America. Um, anyways, but like the thing is, a lot of while I agree with like all the shit that happened to them, and all the shit they've been through throughout history, I sympathize and I agree. Like, yeah, we need to focus on healing and focus on you know helping them get over this. But at the same time, there's a lot of like reactionary elements to native culture that I dislike. And the thing with culture is like you can't really preserve it. And a lot of lefties, especially a lot of authoritarian lefties, I see, make these like weird white nationalisty arguments, except in terms of Native Americans.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the best way to move forward is just, to give
Oh,
them
oh,
better representation in government and let them integrate further and
well, the problem is that like, what do you do with the ones that don't want to do that? Because there's a lot of them here. I don't know how it is in the States. There's a lot of them here, though.
yeah, um I guess I would let them do it Democrat. I would hope that they would do it democratically, over time. Just start with representation. I doubt that a lot of people would be like, we don't want no representation in the policies that affect us at all, like, you know, give them some form of representation in government. And over time, after a very, very long time, probably, they would just start to integrate because uh, they would just want to. Now, some might not want to, and that's something that's a really complicated thing we'd have to talk about. But
Yeah, I
you
think the
know,
big problem with integration is that when you have structures in the government
mm,
that specifically sets them apart, whether it's reserves or it's special rights or special privileges or whatever these things happen to be, that long term impedes integration because you are treating them differently. You know?
um, not necessarily. I mean, the Civil Rights Act is technically is like classifying people who've been historically disenfranchised versus people who haven't, and the Civil Rights Act improved a lot of the integration. Well, they're already integrated, but a lot of the racial tension that was present in America. Um,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Like, I mean, it's kind of gone downhill recently, and
I think so.
I would not put that solely on the blame of anybody right wing at this point.
I don't
Um,
think it's gone downhill personally. I think,
oh,
I
you think
mean,
like the racial tensions in the states is fine at the moment?
it's not fine, but it's better than it's been before. I mean, hell, um, now these days, like Zoomers are like the most progressive generation when it comes to LGBT and race relationship.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The Zoomers are a strange bunch because like when it comes to the social issues, they're very much progressive. You know, they're almost like they're pretty close to colorblind at this point. You know, they don't care what you do. And it's like
mhm.
fine if it's in the privacy of your own home, they don't care. They view race as a non-factor. Fine, you know, same with me. You know, but when it comes to the economy, the Zoomers are kind of all over the place. I've seen some very like conservative takes come out of Zoomers when it comes to money, and I honestly think that it's because of how can I say this without it's because they all want to be YouTubers.
Yeah.
And they see like the hustle culture that comes with just a constant steady workflow, and that definitely lends itself to a more capitalistic way of thinking.
Um. Hmm. Let me think about that. I don't know. Because a lot of Zoomers. It also said that like it was a Pew poll that said that like Zoomers are most favorable to socialism than any other generation before them or whatever. Um. It seems a lot of them, like you said, are just all over the place.
Hmm.
Uh. And I mean, there's always going to be the left right divide or whatever. I think I think a lot of Zoomers live in a very weird time of American history where we can go one of or two ways. Um, the way I see it, we've been we've been barreling pretty close to fascism for a while now, and a lot of them have that like edgy, disaffected, like yes, fashy, daddy, uwu, femboy, and a lot of them also And a lot of them are also, on the hopium, they're like, "We can try to make things better," or whatever.
Yeah, see, so this is the first thing where I actually completely disagree with you.
Okay.
This is the first thing. I do not think America is anywhere close to fascism. I don't think Trump's a fascist. I just think he's an idiot.
You could be a fascist and an idiot.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't think he's a fascist.
Um, actually, I'd say you probably need to be an idiot to be a fascist. I mean, a lot of people talk. There's this myth fascists like to spread. It's the myth that they're like super hyper competent and only fucking completely focused and they super effective and efficient. That's not the case. If you look at like the Nazi war economy, it was a fucking mess.
Yeah, it
It
really
was,
was. Yeah.
and like Hitler's politics, like the way his political cabinet was set up, it was basically just like a feudal court where everyone was just like trying to bandy favors and fucking each other over. Like it was complete fucking nonsense. Um and like
Well, maybe so, but in terms of Trump, I don't think he's
yeah.
a fascist. But I know why people on the left think he is, but I don't think he is.
Oh, well, I can give you my reasons.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So the Palingenesis, his "Make America Great Again" shit, uh, and especially uh, with his very, very xenophobic rhetoric, like you know, the one everyone knows. They're rapists, they're murderers, blah 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 blah. They're coming in here, taking your jobs, etc. That's a big one. Another one is: have you seen his Mount Rushmore speech?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember the part where he literally said that like the protesters are going against every law of society and nature?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fucking fashy. Uh, literally, literally something out of like Mussolini's playbook, that your political opponents aren't just like doing bad things; they're also like literally going against the very laws of nature. Like this really weird essentialism. Uh, there's the can't stand disagreement. That's a big one within fascism. Like disagreement is treason. Uh, there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of shit. Holy fuck.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're
Actually,
talking
now that
about.
I'm
I
oh,
know what
yeah.
you're talking about, but I disagree, and I think I can tell you why. But I'll let you finish. Go on, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, now that I point them out, like, I can just bring up the Umberto Eco's 14 points and just like,
Okay, this is okay. Okay, let's talk about Umberto Eco because I know Umberto Eco. I know his
yeah,
work very well.
okay,
Um, when I was taking political science in university, my professor and we talked about he has the 14 points of fascism, the fascism. We're
mhm.
talking about that, right?
Yeah, we're fascism.
Yeah, yeah. So my political science professor said there is a reason why Umberto Eco is known in the English speaking world as a novelist and not a political philosopher. And that
Yeah,
is how we started our conversation about
mhm.
his fascism essay. And we
I
went over
will.
it.
I
And
actually kind of agree with you because a lot of lefties always quote Umberto Eco.
yeah.
I think Umberto Eco's was really good for identifying a fascist movement as it's springing up, um, but not like what fascism is specifically. I would prefer what's his name, Robert Paxton or Roger Griffin's definitions.
Yes, Griffin's actually quite good. Um
Yeah.
so I actually did a video on this recently, like last week, I think. And I said that the 14-point list that comes out of Umberto Eco's work can be applied to any authoritarian government, not just fascism, and it can even
Mhm.
be applied to some non-authoritarian governments. It's a trash list. It's useless. And then what were the three books? There are three books I recommended people read. Um, there was The Road to Serfdom. That was one of them. There was, oh, I have to look it up. Give me a second. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it.
I'll just go to my video because I put like pictures of the books in the video. So, but yeah, The Road to Serfdom is a good one. There's a lot about what fascism truly is in The Road to Serfdom.
Yeah.
This is a video. Let me just find it here. Just gonna skip through. Come on.
Actually, I like what Robert Paxton said a lot about it. It was a
What
form of
what did
political.
he write? What was his
He
book?
said
Or
he would describe it as a form of political behavior marked by obsessive preoccupation with community decline, humiliation, or victimhood, and compensatory cult of unity, energy, and purity, based on a party of committed nationalist militants. working in an uneasy but effective collaboration with traditional elites. Um, and he talked about like mobilizing passions. I have to. Which book was that called? The Autonomy of Fascism is what it was called.
Yeah, I think I know where you got that. I think you grabbed that off the Wikipedia.
Yes, I did.
God damn it, I can't find it. And man, my books are all packed up. I still have like the old texts, but it's been so goddamn long.
I suck at reading. Don't worry.
Oh yeah? I
Yeah,
used to do so much reading, it's just that I haven't had time,
I'm just really lazy. I'm
Get the audiobooks, man.
well, I was trying to read get the audiobook for Murray Bookchin's Ecology of Freedom, and they only have like one chapter out. Like, what the fuck?
Oh god, someone in the fucking chat. I prefer the 14 words. Da 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 da.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, yeah, I found him. All right, The Road to Serfdom by Frederick Hayek. That's a great one to read. The Nature of Fascism by Roger Griffin. That's a great one to read.
Yep.
The third one was The Sacralization of Politics by Emilio Gentile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then of course there's The Doctrine of Fascism by Mussolini. Like if there's the book. So
Well, the Doctrine of Fascism, half of it was written by Mussolini. The first half was written by the other guy.
Yeah. But I would take those sources over like what a fascist is over Umberto Eco's. I think Umberto Eco's trash. However, I'm going to pull something up here. And I'll slap it in the stream so you can see it if you like.
Giovanni Gentile was the one who wrote the first. I don't know. I think Umberto Eco's like can work when identifying like a fascist movement as it's springing up. Now, what a fascist is, I think I would prefer Roger Griffin's. I think he has the most.
Yeah. It's like I said, my problem was that it's just you can apply it to the tankies, and they weren't fascists. You can apply it to so many other people.
I do call them red fascists.
Red fascists. Well, yeah, like this is. You know what? Hold on. Let's do one topic at a time because I have a big thing to say about the red fascists. But let's do one topic at a time.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can pull it up here. I'm gonna bring in the good old political triangle. You know what this is?
No.
All right, well, I just made it way too fucking big. There we go. Let's scale it down and put it in there. Yeah, it's on screen now if you want to take a look at it.
Stream.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Yep. So you mentioned earlier that you liked the three values of the Enlightenment, which were liberty, fraternity, equality.
Yep.
And they kind of fold out politically into liberalism, communism, and fascism, where you have liberty is the liberalism, fraternity is the fascism, and then equality is the communism.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up having this triangle, which I see being bandied about more and more, which is great. 'Cause it's a great way to kind of frame this discussion. And the idea is that you have these three competing values, and as you go towards one of them, by necessity, you move away from the other two. So the more individual you get, the less communist and the less fascist you get. And that's just how the weighting of the three properties works. However, it also explains why like each group views the two opposing groups as being identical. So, for example, you talk to a liberal, and a liberal will mistake a fascist and a communist all the time because they're both like these totalitarian ideologies, and the liberal ideology is a very hands-off kind of situation. The fascist mistakes the liberal and the communist for the same thing all the time. That's why the right will say, "LOL, own the libs." That's kind of what they're going with there. They don't see the difference between them, and it's because the right has this, or sorry, the fascists. Let's use the proper terms. The fascists have a very strange view of like the natural world and how it's ordered and how the philosophy is set up. Yeah. And so they think that both liberalism and communism are against the natural order of things, and so they oppose them on that merit. So they view them as being the same thing. And then meanwhile, communists will often view liberals and fascists as the same thing. And man, if you spend any time on Twitter, you'll see like, liberalism is the handmaiden of fascism, or cut a
Uh,
liberal and a fascist bleeds. You see that shit all the time, and they're appealing to the same idea.
by the way,
Hmm?
anyone who says that that tries to equate liberalism and fascism, all the Twitter lefties who do that, they're idiots.
Yeah, yeah,
That's fucking stupid.
yeah. But
Liberalism and fascism. Liberalism is very distinct and much better than fascism.
but the communist will conflate the two of them because they both prefer hierarchies. Now they prefer different hierarchies, but they both operate fundamentally on the concept of hierarchy, while communism doesn't. So you have these three political philosophies that are mutually exclusive, but they're also like completely linked, and you can't really break them away from each other.
Yeah, I just don't like I generally just do not like political charts. A lot of times they reveal more about like the person making them than like any actual political beliefs.
Oh
Like
yeah, I agree. Like I wouldn't like put my dot on this, be like I'm right here, and therefore no, I wouldn't say that. But this is like a relation between ideas, less of a chart. But I know what you mean though.
yeah. um I would say that uh what I would usually say is in order to have liberty, you need to have some form of equality or a good amount of equality. And for to have equality, you have to have a common feeling of fraternity. You need all three to make a actually free and good society, decent society.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know, but getting back to the thing of Trump being a fascist, even if
Yes.
he himself is not a fascist, um, let me just grant you that. Let's say Trump isn't a fascist. He, his movement and his rhetoric definitely empowers a lot of fascists. And I, as a consequentialist, um, care more about like what you do than what you think, because I can't know what Trump thinks. Maybe inside he's like the biggest fucking commie on the planet. I wouldn't know. But Trump, the way he acts is in a way that moves us towards a far right ultra nationalist populism, and I oppose that.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I have no love of the fascist, but like in general, I do not believe nationalism to be a bad thing. I think it can be. I think it very often is, in fact. But there is definitely a form of like a positive nationalism that you can find in liberalism that you can't find in fascism.
Um,
I think this is definitely one of those instances where like people mix up. They see the liberals and they see that like a positive nationalist liberal who's like a civic nationalist or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, that's a fascist." And it's like, no, no, no. Every each of these three political philosophies have things in common with each other. That doesn't make them the other thing, you know. Like I don't believe that Trump's a fascist. I don't even like where are the fascists? You know, like there was Charlottesville, but fair enough. And Charlottesville was a shit show. But like, has there been a march like Charlottesville on the far right since then?
like Charlottesville, no,
Yeah.
but like as the protests have been gearing up, there's been a lot of counter protests by Proud Boys and a lot of fascist right wing militant groups. Uh, what are those what are those fucking people called? The Oath Keepers or whatever the fuck those larpy dipshits.
I have no
Um,
idea who the Oath Keepers are, to be honest. I do know
so
about
the
the
Oath
Proud Boys. I don't think the Proud Boys are fascists. I don't. I think they're like.
Keepers,
I think they're like. They're closer to ANCAPs almost, in some ways.
I don't know.
I don't think they're fascist though. I think they're definitely like nationalistic for sure.
They're
Um,
very nationalistic
very
and
nationalistic.
very white supremacy, and also they're
I don't think they're
by the
white
way,
supremacy.
all the
Aren't they
people,
run by like a black Hispanic
yeah,
guy?
all the people who say like they're black, oh, how are they white supremacists? There's like black people and Hispanics. Nick Fuentes is a fucking Nazi. His name is Fuentes. Like there always like there has always been fucking uh house N words God,
I know what you mean, but here's the thing, though. I think this is actually another problem with how we define fascism, because you look at non-German types of fascism, and they weren't all that interested in
by
race
the way, all
either.
you
You know?
oh, sorry. All you people saying Nick Fuentes is not fascist, is not a Nazi. He's a fucking Holocaust denier who fucking
Okay, okay, I don't think Nick Fuentes is a Nazi, because that's a very specific thing. But is Nick Fuentes a fascist? There's a pretty good chance he's a fascist, guys. Come on, I think so. Like Nick Fuentes is like one of the few that actually might exist out there. You know?
I remember Destiny was on the kill stream and he was talking,
Oh, fuck the kill
Dick
stream, dude.
Masterson came back. Oh, yeah, fuck the kill stream. Fucking idiots. Dick Masterson came back and,
Hmm.
Destiny told Dick, hey, Nick, Dick, you know that, Nick doesn't believe in Nick believes in that dinosaurs walked with people and shit. And Dick asked him, like, "Wait, you believe that shit?" And Nick said, "Whatever the fuck." And Dick Masterson was like, "Wait, so you believe that dinosaurs walk with people, but you don't believe in the fucking Holocaust?"
Yeah, see, when it comes to the pursuit of knowledge, questioning the Holocaust, I don't think is inherently evil. Because, like, let's say that you meet somebody who's never heard of it, right? And they're like, "Well, I should probably investigate this, see if it actually happened." Like, that's not bad. People should find out what happened. You know?
Well,
Um,
no shit. Like,
yeah,
of course you need to question parts of the narrative that happen, but when
yeah.
there's like a but you have to also ask, why is someone questioning this narrative? And do they have you know, some ulterior motive? Like if a historian is questioning like how many people I wonder how many people actually died at this specific camp. I would I don't think that historian's a fucking Nazi because like he's just doing his job. He's going through the records and being like, okay, uh, this many people, this blah 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 blah. If someone like Nick Fuentes is like, you know, if you can, if you bake, uh, if you have to bake 6 million cookies with an easy bake oven or whatever,
I know the meme. Yeah, but yeah, like to go back a bit. When I see Trump and I see like the stuff that he's done when it comes to his actual policies, they're very much in line with what you know a centrist blue dog Democrat would have done in the 1990s. You know, like the actual economic policies, the meat of the legislation that he advocates for. It's nothing anywhere close to fascism. When you hear him talk, now the thing with talking, and you're from New York, right?
yes, I am.
Yeah. So you know that sometimes New Yorkers will just say, "Hey, let's bomb the shit out of him," and not actually mean bomb the shit out of him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he has a very New York way of talking where he's being overly bombastic just to get a rise out of people, but half the shit he says he doesn't actually mean.
Uh,
Or at least not in that way, Like it's over the top for a reason. He
whether or
talks
not
like
he
a New
means,
Yorker for sure.
yeah, I don't know. Whether or not he fucking means it, like that's listen. Whether or not he means that, let's
Mhm.
say he doesn't mean anything he says. He is still the president, and he has massive influence over the electorate. And
Yes.
if he is moving the electorate to a more far right position, that is still a big problem for me. Um,
See.
whether or not he personally is a fascist,
Mhm.
like that's debatable. I think he definitely exhibits some fascistic tendencies. He could be, if he's not a fascist, he's probably a proto-fascist as far as I'm concerned. Um, but despite that, he is still moving the country in a direction that I find to be very fucking harmful. And I would like him not to be in a big position of power.
I do not like making predictions, and I wouldn't put any money on this, but I have a feeling he's going to win,
Uh,
you know?
maybe
Maybe.
is the
Well, here's the thing though, because like okay, you think Trump's a fascist, I don't. I think we both have at least internally consistent reasons as for why we think the things that we do. So it's not like we're being unreasonable. Um when it comes to the protests,
Mhm.
a lot of the protests, not hold on, I want to choose my words carefully. I don't like putting my foot in my mouth, you know. When the protests become violent, and they seem to become violent regularly, it's at that point that I don't think they have any more legitimacy. And then when
Uh,
you have like people who say, okay, let's send in the police and restore order, I think that's actually fine. You know,
mm.
when you have Antifa throwing bricks and Molotovs and things like that, I think it's gone too far at that point. And I think, yeah, at that point, that's property damage. You're violating somebody else's rights. You have to stop that. I don't think it's a sign of fascism that police are being used on rioters to stop the riots. I think liberal states do that too.
Well, we have to be clear about like what we're talking about because
Hmm.
okay, so most of the protests happening, most of them are peaceful. That's
I,
just a fact. Like
I
the
don't know,
majority.
but I actually I don't know the split, but I will say this: every single peaceful protest, if it remains peaceful, should not be touched by the cops. Period. I can just say that outright.
Mhm.
So just so we know where we both stand on that, you know, like I don't think that police have any business breaking up peaceful protests, and
And
it's
look,
bullshit when they do.
I'm not gonna like say, oh, rioting is good. Rioting is a very like well described sociological phenomenon. This is this is just something that's gonna happen when people feel like they're not being listened to. Uh, I don't really put a morality on rioting. Now, the individuals within the riots, like, yeah, you probably don't burn down fucking businesses. Probably should be arrested for that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like rioting as a sociological phenomenon, uh, I don't really assign morality to it. To me, it's like assigning morality to fucking hurricane or some shit. Like it's a very predictable phenomenon that happens whenever people feel they're not being listened to.
Yeah, but a hurricane is made out of people, though. Like there are still individuals who are rioting that can still be held responsible for the fact that they're rioting.
Oh no, that's what. Yeah, yeah, that's what I meant. Like there are individuals that can be held responsible for that fact. But
Yeah,
why not just like arrest those individuals and the people who are being peaceful? Just let them continue fucking being peaceful.
yeah,
Like
no,
most.
I agree with that. Like you keep seeing like people getting arrested, and then there's an outrage from especially from the Twitter left. Honestly, I think just Twitter is, regardless of political persuasion,
Oh,
Twitter's fucking
by the way,
cancer.
I found sorry, I found a thing of like the stats on it. Demonstrators not engaged in violence. 93% of the 700 over 7,000 demonstrations were peaceful.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, people have called me like a police simp and all of this shit, and I've always said no, no, no. Listen, if the protest, not protest, if the situation remains a protest and not a riot, then the police shouldn't be involved. Like I've said that consistently. You know.
but then you get into the thing of like uh if you aren't very clear about the fact that like most of the protests are peaceful, then you get things like uh what happened in Kenosha where the police just let a fucking right-wing militia handle protesters for them and someone ended up shot. Several people ended up shot and killed. Um
We're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse here.
yeah, that dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Um no, no,
No,
no.
see, we are going to
Okay,
disagree
now
here.
there
Yeah.
okay, okay. So there's a debate of like was Kyle right to shoot them? That's not that's a separate debate. What I'm arguing is that situation never should have fucking happened in the first place. Um, Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't have crossed state lines to go to Kenosha. Uh, he shouldn't have been allowed to just like uh, handle protesters by the fucking cops. Uh, like that was holy shit, dude. That was handled so badly by like the powers that be.
From what I understand about the situation, because I've been working on a very large video essay on the Kyle situation.
Yeah.
And I just been waiting for like the case to keep going, because like there's always like new video that comes out, and there's always like a court case. So I like to hold off until I know all the facts, and I still don't know all the facts. But from what I understand, um, I don't think there's anything wrong with him crossing state lines, because
Well,
you can go wherever you want in the United States for any
no,
reason you want. You know.
that The problem is crossing state lines. The problem is like crossing state lines with a fucking weapon that you're not allowed to own to go and join a right-wing militia who then does basically takes the job of the police in like controlling the protests and riots.
Well, he didn't own the weapon.
Yeah, it was his parents. That's even worse.
No, it wasn't his parents.
Who does it?
It was a person who lived in Kenosha that gave him their, or like lent him the rifle. Now, the problem with the rifle is that for that type of rifle, it's unclear whether or not the age limit was 16 or 18. Because there's certain types of hunting rifles that you can use when you're younger, and then 18 is the limit for most other guns. And it hasn't yet been determined. It'll be determined in court where this type of rifle falls. But the rifle came out of somebody who was from Kenosha and lent it to Kyle. And when I was looking into the situation, it seemed like what was going on was Kyle was asked by, it was some store or something, to basically help guard it that night from the protest. And so he was given a gun, and he'd been hunting, so he knows how to use guns.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there at the request of the owner of the property.
The owner of the property gave him a fucking.
No, I think that was a third person that gave him the gun. But like,
okay.
Basically, it was the owner of the property. Like, had some friends and had people who knew how to shoot, and like, he asked Kyle to be there.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, if you're defending yourself, if you're defending your property or property of someone who asked you to defend it, that's completely legitimate.
That is really, that gets in some really iffy territory of like, okay, here, 17-year-old dude, go protect my property, while the police just hang back and do what the fuck ever. Like, even in that case, like, the police should have been there and been like, yeah, no, we're not gonna let this like right-wing militia group be like, just like take over for us.
Well, I agree with that. Like, the police should have been doing the job, and there should not have had to be like, there should not have been a need for community policing if the police weren't going to be there to do it. But if the cops aren't there, if it is a failure of the police, and your options are defend your property with your weapons or let them be destroyed by a riot, well, then you have to defend them.
Yeah, for the most part. Generally, with this situation, it's a very complicated fucking situation. It seems to me like the fuck up was on many sides. Like the guy who ran a Kyle shouldn't have ran a Kyle, blah blah blah. But the people, the guy who asked Kyle to like protect his lot, that's really fucking weird to me. Like, I don't know about you. If I was a fucking dude, I owned some car lot somewhere, and some 17-year-old was like, "Hey, I'm here to defend private property." I'm not gonna give that kid or I guess he didn't give him a rifle. I'm not gonna tell that kid, "Oh, okay, go protect my lot, 17-year-old boy." Like, you know what I mean? That's really fucking negligent, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe the fact that he's 17 and not 18, maybe. But like, for example, I know the owner of a lot of small shops in my area. If there were, for some reason, a riot here, and they said, "Listen, like, for some reason the city cops are all gone, and I need to defend my shop. Would you help me?" I'd be like, "Yeah." These are good people. These are like, I shop at their places. They're part of the community. If they said, "Hey, could you like, stand around for a night at my shop and with me and make sure that it doesn't get smashed up by rioters," I'd probably do it because I'm part of this community too. I think I'd do it.
Well, he wasn't part of that community, but and also like, yeah, trying to keep it from getting smashed by rioters, fine, but like giving the kid a gun and like telling him like defend this territory. There are people who are coming to fuck this thing up. There are rioters and anarchists, blah blah blah, and like, I don't know, dude. This is a really fucked situation, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. The chat is saying that Kyle worked in Kenosha. So like I guess he must have lived close enough to the border that he would like cross regularly. Like he'd live in one place and work in another, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now to be fair, when I worked for Food Basics, which is a pretty shitty grocery store that has stores all over Canada and is one of those larger corporations, if they said, "Hey, come defend our store," I'd be like, "Fuck you! You're a terrible company to work for." I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But like, if it were, a local business and someone that I knew, I think I'd do the same thing. I really
Uh,
do. I think I would help the people in my community that I know defend their property from those who want to destroy it. I think it's reasonable to do that.
uh, maybe. Uh, Again, it's a really fucked situation. And the point I was getting at originally is that if I mean I wouldn't fucking do that. Fuck that shit, dude. Goddamn. There's if there's a fucking riot going on, I'm fucking off. Like, yeah, no.
Well, would you like defend your own house? Like if the riot was like coming down your street, and it's like, well, I got to defend my house now. There's no cops here.
Why would they come down my street? Shit.
Well, I don't know. Like just
Fuck.
hypothetically.
Most of the time when riots happened, because I've been in when I was a wee kid and I still lived abroad, um, in the Dominican Republic. I was there during a riot. Like they pretty much just left house during riots. People usually leave houses alone. They mostly burn like businesses and other property damage and shit.
Yeah,
Um,
it's still not great, but yeah, I know what you mean.
oh yeah, that's not great.
Like
But
there's been some
I
videos.
guess
Like
it's like, yeah, if someone comes to my house and like tries to fuck me up or something, yeah, I'm gonna defend myself. It's my fucking house. Shit.
yeah, yeah, that's how I feel too. No, there's like I'm sure you probably don't think highly of Andy No. And regardless of your opinion on him as a person, I like he still puts out videos that actually happen. Like they're not like they're faked videos or anything. And there's definitely videos of people like riding in suburbs, and that's
uh,
fucking scary to see.
the problem with
Like,
Andy No is that yeah, he puts out videos of things that are happening. Like the problem is that he's putting out videos of things that are happening with an obvious fucking editorial bias, um, huge editorial bias, and also uh, with a lot of missing context. Like as we've just been discussing, this thing with Kyle Rittenhouse. This is a very complex situation that just gets like deeper and deeper the more you look. But Andy No will just present a specific amount of information in a specific way in order to push like a far right political message.
well, I do recall a lot of people. I'm not saying this is you. I'm not. I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm not painting you with this brush. But I recall for a very long time, the go-to line on the left was like, "There is no such thing as real objectivity, and therefore we can't be held to that standard, and everyone has a bias." And it's like, well, if that's the case, then if Andy has a bias, it's a legitimate one.
Uh, n- there's no such thing as real objective. Oh, you mean the thing that there's no objective truth?
It's not just that when that ethic is applied to journalism, it's that you cannot expect journalists to ever be objective because they always have their own preconceived notions of what's going on.
No, so it's kind of like science, and science is done by subjective human beings. But we
Yes.
have a system and a set of uh, you know bias detecting mechanisms that make it so that bias is minimized as much as possible. When in journalism, it's kind of the same thing. There's a lot of systems and bias detecting mechanisms that make sure that bias doesn't get into the actual reporting of facts. The problem is Andy No is not a fucking journalist. He's not held to the same standard as someone from like CNN or something. Um, if someone from like CNN uh, tried to do some of the shit he does, they would be fucking canned.
I don't know, man. I've seen some pretty terrible shit come out of CNN.
Um, yeah. Here's the thing: a lot of right wingers really hate CNN. I really hate CNN a lot. But the thing is, they are held to standards, and they do for the most part meet those standards. There are many cases when they don't, but you know, uh,
Well,
fucking
that is like
majority of
the
the time they do hold to certain standards,
yeah.
and are generally reliable.
Well, there's like that's the back and forth, right? Like if you get your news from an alphabet network, well, they have the prestige of being an alphabet network, and they have all this history, and they have all this equipment, and they have connections, and but if you get your news from, an on the ground reporter who's not part of an alphabet network, there's always the chance that they're going to be biased because, someone like Andy No probably does have a bias, obviously. Everyone does. But
Very much.
but like
But you
the
can
stuff
still like
the stuff that
you can
comes out
still live up. Huh? Oh, sorry.
the stuff that comes out of the on the ground reporting is significantly more real and a whole lot less likely to be doctored than the stuff that you get off of TV. And I think there's like a trade-off. I think you really only get the full story if you look at everyone's news, not just one person's. So
Um,
I do follow Andy No, and I do see the things that he posts, but I follow a bunch of different people. I don't think you can get a proper idea of what's going on without listening to everyone because everyone has a bias.
yeah, I mean, this is like step one of postmodernism is that like there's no one meta narratives. There are only many meta narratives, and from there you can get some gleaming of truth by looking at all the different lenses of analysis. Um, the problem is like with someone specifically like Andy No, his bias is like he is selling his bias. He is selling an incredibly fucking editorialized version of reality that when you dig in deeper tends to fall flat on its fucking face, frankly. He
Well,
also
I think that I'm um I don't want to say educated because that just makes it sound like I'm too up my own ass. I think I'm capable of correcting for the bias of someone like Andy No because like I, I'm I'm sure throughout our conversation you probably view me as someone who's right wing, but I do not feel comfortable on the right at all. Like I have never
um
been a consistent right wing supporter. It's never
mm,
I've never felt at home there. Like when I was young, I was part of the demonstrations to try and get gay marriage legalized here in Canada. That was before
um
2003. So
yeah,
like,
generally I view you kind of as like a centristy liberal type,
yeah, that's where I put myself to. You know, yeah, no, people in my viewers are more right wing than me, and I know that they want me to be more right wing, and I'm not going to be more right wing because I don't think it's
Yeah.
right. I don't think it's correct.
That would actually be a perfect segue into another topic, actually, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
sure.
Which is uh, the audience we cultivate
Hmm.
as content creators. You're a much bigger content creator than me, obviously, but
I'm still tiny, man. Don't worry about it.
yeah, yeah. But still, um, as content creators, we cultivate a very specific kind of audience, depending on the content we make. For example, uh, I am very lefty. My co-hosts are generally pretty much to the left. We cultivate a very, but we also make sure to weed out like very toxic elements, like tankies. Like I said, I made a video of how we don't want tankies. Tankies fuck off. And anytime like some tanky tries to, you know, get into our community or whatever, we would shut that down immediately. We don't
Hmm.
want that. Um, I've I take a lot of responsibility for the actions I do online and the community I try to cultivate. Um, but do you? It feels to me a lot of times that when you talk to right wingers, which is really weird because right wingers are market themselves as the we take responsibility for our actions people, but when you ask them like you're cultivating a very far right base, that they're just like well, it's not my fault at all, it's just people right wingers just like to listen to me like no, you're definitely influencing people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I do actually agree. Like I will break with a lot of other content creators that I hang out with, and I do actually agree with what you're saying. But I do think that ultimately, free speech is more important. There are people who say things that I disagree with all the time in my chat. There are people who watch me who I would not agree with politically ever. But just as I have a responsibility, so do they. You know, like I am not responsible for what they do. They are responsible for what they do. I can make content that hopefully, brings them around to the liberal way of thinking, which is what I try to do at least sometimes. But to say that I'm responsible for everything that my viewers do, I don't think so. Like the Christchurch shooter had subscribed to PewDiePie written on his gun or whatever it was, or he said it during his live stream. That doesn't make PewDiePie responsible in any way.
No, I don't believe PewDiePie is responsible for that. But the Christchurch shooter was also a big watcher of Lauren Southern, and who's that other fucking dude pushing the Great Replacement theory? What's that fucking other guy? His name escapes me, but he was a big time watcher of Lauren Southern and all these people, like right wing YouTubers who push the Great Replacement theory, and obviously it seems pretty clear his terrorist act was motivated by this idea that like we white people are being replaced. I need to go and defend the white race or what the fuck ever, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so while yeah, you're not, I never, I don't believe that you're completely responsible for every single thing your audience does. Um, but you also have to admit that the way by which we present information can lead people down certain paths, one way or another.
To a point, I think so. That's why whenever I talk about any kind of controversial topic, or whenever I talk whenever I talk about somebody who's like doing something that's very clearly wrong, I always say don't contact this person. Whenever I talk about something that might have the potential to radicalize someone, I always say don't do anything in real life. But the fact that somebody might not listen to me and might do something crazy does not mean that I shouldn't talk about the real topics that we're talking about.
No, I never said you shouldn't talk about those topics. I'm just saying, like, the way by which we present that information, the way that we cultivate our audiences, affects very much, um, these real world, these kind of real world consequences. Um,
Okay, but what would you do that is actually tangible to prevent something like that? Because there's a guy who I've banned from my Discord. He's come back over 50 times. He just comes back and just says I'm still here, and then we ban him again. Like he broke the rules, but like at some point, people are going to do whatever they want, and if they might use your content as a rationalization later, but at some point, people will just do whatever they want.
um, yeah, no, I don't disagree. Well, we got in my Discord, we have kind of similar guy, but you know, actually, right wingers do it a lot. They just like make 50 fucking accounts to go back to these communities that they've been banned from before. Try a P banning him. But
I don't know if it's right wingers. I think everyone does that, but yeah, I know what you mean.
no, I see it a lot more on the right. I don't know. I don't see a lot of lefties like making 500 fucking accounts to harass people. I'm not saying that there aren't, but like, uh, this is a. I see this is mostly a majority right wing problem. And in any case, um, yes, at one point people are just gonna do what they want, but we people as content creators have a responsibility to, if not, I'm not saying that like everyone's listening at our our every word and doing everything we're gonna say. But I'm saying like we can push people in certain directions, or guide or show them certain directions and show them others. Some are very harmful, others are not so harmful.
Okay,
And
how about this? How about this? I have a hypothetical for you.
okay,
If you believed that the Great Replacement theory were true,
yes.
and you wanted to make content on it because you believed it to be an important topic to talk about, how would you do that in a way that does not drive people to do violent things?
Stop believing the great replacement theory for one, or just like honestly,
Here's
I
the thing:
joke.
I don't believe in it either. But like,
Yeah.
let's say you believed in it and you thought it was important
Well,
to talk about. Like, what do you do?
Well, I joke, but, like, that is part of it, and part of it is, like, going through, like, actually skeptically looking at the information, going through it, and being like, "Okay, does this actually make sense?" And if you are someone who believed in that, go look at, go actually look at the evidence presented and see if it holds up to scrutiny, and don't push that shit. Now there are there are certain things that will inevitably lead people to like certain conclusions. Um, Now, if you let's say you did that and you believe in the great replacement theory, because I don't know, you're not very intelligent. Um, then in that case, I guess just be very fucking clear of like, do not commit violence on anybody ever. Blah blah blah. You know, give yourself an out at least.
Yeah, and to be fair, that is what I do. Whenever I talk about something that might be controversial, but I think is still real, I'll say, listen, don't do anything in real life. We're talking about ideas here. We're not talking
Oh,
about.
just to be clear,
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of your content, this is I
Yeah.
don't watch a lot of YouTube anymore in general, but, like, I'm sure I give you the benefit of the doubt, I'm sure you, are, uber responsible, don't push people towards certain views or ideas. Um, what I'm talking about is, like, the big ones, like the Lauren Southerns, the, Nick Fuenteses, the, fuck, even Tucker Carlson, uh,
I don't
pushed
think
himself.
Tucker Carlson pushes people towards violence at all. I can see Fuentes, Lauren
Uh,
Southern, maybe. Tucker Carlson, no. No.
I don't
I don't think so.
I don't know if he pushes people towards violence. He definitely spreads a lot of, like, great replacement shit. Um, like, who's that guy? Fuck, there's been so many mass shootings in the US, it's hard to remember.
Just give me a second. Chat. Everyone in the chat saying that the Great Replacement theory is real. You know that
You're a
there's
fucking
more
idiot.
white people right now than there ever has been, right? There's a lot of white people. Like, don't worry about it. The white race isn't going anywhere.
Even then, like, if, like, a bunch of immigrants just come into your country and, like, start and a bunch of white people just start fucking immigrants as well as white people, like, who cares? You know?
Yeah.
Let people fall in love and have kids with whoever the fuck they want, you weird fucks. Jesus.
Listen, like, man, my current girlfriend's Jewish, and I've had Asian girlfriends,
Oi,
and like,
cucked goyim, quit goyim.
like, it doesn't fucking matter, man. Like, what matters is the culture, not the race of people. The culture is what matters. Like, I would not want American culture or Canadian culture or British culture or any other culture to disappear from the planet. And if
Um,
there's like a cultural replacement, that's a serious fucking topic. That would be a crime, in my opinion, a crime against
okay.
humanity. But it's not a race thing. It's never going to be a race thing.
I guess we were kind of, in agreement with the, responsibility to, cultivate our audience's shit for the most part, I would say.
I mean,
Um,
maybe like for example, the only thing that I think I would do, because it's the only thing that I do, is say, even though we're talking about something that might be a little bit spicy or some kind of serious topic, don't do anything violent or drastic. You know,
yeah.
for me,
Um,
for me, violence is only acceptable if it's in self defense. If you're
oh,
defending yourself, you're defending your property, then use as much fucking violence as you want. But before that, you have no right to do anything.
um, you're defending yourself and property. Let me think.
Yes.
Yeah, I think when you're defending yourself or your property, there's definitely levels of escalation that can go, like, way too far. Like, if someone is, I don't know, literally is on my lawn or something, then I get a gun and fucking shoot them. We could agree that, like, that's probably a level of escalation that, shouldn't have happened. You know, um,
I think in terms of rights, you probably have the right to do that, but it would be a terrible thing to do, and you shouldn't
uh,
do that. I
I
think
don't know, dude.
okay, if someone's on your lawn and you go to them and you say, "Hey, get off my lawn," and then they just say, "No, fuck you," then you should call the police. And if the police can't come, then you should remove them with force.
Right, but we agree that there's, like, an appropriate level of escalation that, like, can, uh, you know, you say, "Imma call the police." They still refuse to move. Call the police. If the police don't come, just say, "Hey, get the fuck off my lawn." Uh, Maybe try to get handsy with them, but at that point, like, there's ways to get to that point that are more responsible than other ways is what I'm saying. Like, there is, different levels of escalation that you can go to.
Yeah, well, this is why I'm talking about rights and not necessarily what a person with a functioning brain would do. Like you do have the right to shoot trespassers, but most people, if they're using their heads, will not immediately jump to that level because people generally give other people good like a good faith chance. It's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know. It's okay. Well, it's time for you to leave, and then that's the end of it. Like just because you have a right doesn't mean that you have to enforce it all the time, but you do have the right.
You might have the right, but, uh, here's the thing, when you talk about rights, like, a lot of right wingers I find, not I'm not saying you're a right winger, but
Hmm.
a lot of, people on the right tend to, like, view rights as, like, this some weird transcendental thing that, like, oh, your rights are prote just, like, guaranteed to you, the moment you're born is like a thing of fucking nature that like you're born and these rights are unalienable and no one can take it from you. Like, no, rights exist because people believe they exist. And to me, I think the person who was like on your lawn has a right to not be shot immediately from like uh, you coming out and seeing them on your lawn. I think like that person has a right to uh, uh, yeah, has a right to get to those levels of escalation that aren't like completely fucking extreme. You know what I mean?
I guess this is where we disagree because I actually do believe in that conception of rights, and it's not a right wing conception of rights. It's definitely like a liberal conception of rights because it comes out of John Locke's writings on what rights are, and he was very much the first liberal. So
Um,
so yeah, like the whole idea is that you have rights and they cannot be taken from you. You can be punished for exercising them if you exist in, say, a totalitarian system, but they can never be taken from you. So you have the right to speak because nobody can stop you from speaking. Like you can say whatever you want and you can be punished for it by some tyrant, but he can't actually physically stop you from speaking. Let's see that you can cut your tongue out, but then you can like write. You can have like Morse code with your
I mean,
eyelids.
he could definitely
It,
stop you from speaking. He could just kill you.
yeah, well that's the thing. Like you have to kill someone to remove the right. That's what a right is. You can't take it away from them completely without taking away their life. That is what makes it a right.
Uh, no, I disagree. I think rights, like every other form of ethics and morality, are subjective. And it depends on what people believe are rights. Uh, for example, when we talk about property rights, uh, we all talk about the like no one everyone agrees the property right of the slave owner doesn't supersede the right of the slave to live a free and decent life. Um, it de- but a while ago, everyone did agree that those rights did supersede. It just depends on what your society believes at the time. I don't believe that there's like some form of inalienable rights that like can never be taken from you. No, it's just really weird. Um,
Well, I mean, you're currently living it though. Like the fact that you're speaking.
yeah, because we live in a country that has a constitution that says I'm allowed to.
No, that's not why you can speak. That only means that you won't be punished for doing so.
Yeah,
Like yeah.
effectively, that means I can speak.
No. Like if you went to China and you started talking negative things about the PRC, it's not like there's a magical aura that comes on you and you can no longer say those words. Like they leave your brain or something. You just get punished for it. That's why it's a
Uh,
right.
yeah, and by getting punished for it, I effectively no longer have that right. Like that's the thing is functionally when a government takes that right away from me, then it's indistinguishable from whether or not I have that right inalienably.
Well, no, because they're not taking it away
Fucking
from you.
hell.
They're violating it. Those are two different things.
Yeah, no, I agree that the concepts are different. I'm saying functionally, those are like that's what's happening.
Yeah, I just don't agree with you. I'm sorry. So
Um,
there's nothing really more, I guess. Like
well,
the
well,
fact that you can
think about
still do it is that you can still do it even though you're punished for it. You can still make the choice to do it. It's not like a way has been cut off from you. Like you can choose to do it and then take the punishment. It's not like you can't choose to do it. That's why it's a right.
uh, okay, think about this. Um, let's say we live in hunter gatherer days.
Hmm.
Let's say you fucking live before we had the concept of property, and you live in a tribe that hunts and gathers and shit, and you find a nice shell, and the rest of your tribe is like, "Hey, share that shell with us," and then you say, "No, it's my property." They say, "What the fuck is property? Give us that." But at that point, like property rights isn't a thing. You give that shell to your tribe, or you get fucked. Like, and it's not like there's this inalienable like thing of like, oh, you know, they're just violating. Like, no, effectively, you don't have that right anymore because the people around you don't believe that that is a right. It's totally subjective.
Well, there's like two conversations here, and I think they're both probably important.
Mhm.
The first one is that I really don't think that there was a time before we had some conception of property, because even animals have a very basic conception of property. Um,
No, there was. There's a lot of anthropological evidence to show a lot of
I
Native
mean, there
Americans.
might be anthropological evidence that shows that tribes might have shared things amongst the tribe for the greater good of the collective, because you need a group of people to do anything meaningful.
No, they literally just did not have a concept of like property.
Yeah, but how do you know that?
Uh, because there's anthropological evidence of it. Like there's
What is the evidence though? Like,
uh like I think in the Iroquois language there's or the Hopi language, there's no word for saying like this is mine or that is mine. There's only words for things that are. So it seems that they didn't really have a concept of property as we understand it.
that might be why those guys never went anywhere.
What the Hopi, dude? The Hopi was
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
fucking
Well, no, like, here's what I mean. Like,
yeah, yeah.
we know that our tendency towards viewing things as ours, as property, comes out of our biology. And we know this for a few reasons. And now I'm like, I the worst part about all this is like I can't dig up my old like textbooks from university where I know I've read this stuff, but like I took a psychology course, and we went over like certain areas of the brain in the psychology course, and just how
Mhm.
certain things work. And like humans and other animals have hoarding tendencies, right? And to be like an obsessive compulsive hoarder is like an overactivity of that one part of the brain that governs property.
Yeah,
So
that makes
it
sense.
it it does seem to be something that is in us to determine like what's ours and what's not. I think
Well,
it's why you form like emotional connections with objects. You care about the place that you live. I think we have a biological predisposition towards property ownership.
hoarding tendencies is a very interesting concept in sociology and psychology because it does make a lot of sense evolutionarily, but a lot of people, but there's also like a very collectivist mindset within the human brain.
Mhm.
It's like we are a very social species. I mean, part of the reason we've like advanced so much is because our ability to cooperate really well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, I agree. Like there are people who are like, okay, we're obviously atomized individuals, and it's like no, and then people say, well, we're obviously meant to be in a collective because we cooperate, and it's like no, we're both. We're equal parts both. We're equal parts collectivist and individualist, and
uh,
those are like two halves that have to come together properly.
well, calm down, Bakunin. No, no, yeah, humans have a dual nature. Humans can be very selfish and greedy depending on the situation. Others can be very altruistic depending on the situation. It just depends.
But yeah,
I would personally prefer to have a society that encourages altruism and compassion and all that nice gay lovey-dovey shit.
all the gay lovey-dovey shit.
Yeah, dude. What? Aren't you up on 2020, dude? It's current year. Being gay is good.
Yeah, I know, dude. The traps are the best.
Yeah,
The deck only makes it better.
true.
But yeah, like when it comes to property, I think we're biologically predisposed to want property, to have property, to see it as valuable. When it comes to rights, though, property right, the property rights, they're a bit strange, because on the one hand, the fact that you are a person and that you cannot be enslaved is because of your own property rights, because your body is your property, your life is your property, your mind is your property. You own yourself. It's the concept of self ownership was really the first philosophical underpinning as to why slavery was immoral. Like,
So I think this is where we disagree axiomatically because
mhm.
I I describe myself as utilitarian. So to me, the morality or the ethics of an action is dependent on the outcomes of what is happening from that action. Is it causing suffering? Is it causing pleasure? You know, um, and generally, um, I would I stand for this concept of positive rights, which is you have we. acknowledge there is a certain form of rights, but there are ways to express those rights that are positive and ways to express those rights that are very negative. And um, I would like for us to maximize positive rights and minimize negative rights as much as possible.
Um, wait, minimize negative rights?
Yeah, like let's say you have uh we have freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, very great. Um, oh, there's this really good analogy that I liked to see, which is like, let's say you have a society that's all about driving. Um, Everyone loves to drive, everyone loves to race all the time. But the thing is, you and everyone has the right to drive. But the thing is, if everyone's racing all the time, the chance of accidents increases dramatically. Um, and so uh, more accidents means you're lowering the amount of people that can drive because if you're injured in an accident, if you can't drive. So we should have a system in where that maximizes your positive rights, the ability for you to drive as much as possible, but minimizes the amount of accidents that can possibly happen. Race in designated places that is safe as possible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but these don't sound like rights; they sound like privileges.
Um, yeah. No, that's the thing. I don't believe that rights are like an inherent thing. Because axiomatically, I care about like what uh what grants you the most freedom and what limits the most harm and what increases the most positive shit. Yeah.
Oh, something going on over there?
Oh, sorry, I'm being yelled at.
Okay, do you want to take a break or?
No, 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 it's fine. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
but
Well, here, since we're on this topic, I think it's kind of important. Like, are you one of the people that would say that food is a human right? Then,
oh, fuck yeah, my dude. Woo.
okay, I disagree, and I don't disagree because I want to see people starving or because I'm pro, I'm pro poverty or anything like that. But it's because what you would have to do to enforce that ethic uniformly, you would have to be extremely totalitarian on the people that create the food.
Agree. No. Um, So a lot of people talk about decommodification of food, especially a lot of lefties, obviously. I don't agree with the decommodification of food in like the short term because food is a perfectly competing market, and so like, okay, listen, my fellow commies, I love you. Um, Markets are really good at getting people what they want. That's just a fact. Now there are times we live without markets. There's going to be a time where you live without markets, but for now, markets are the best thing we got to getting people what they want. The problem is that like the distribution of those things is unequal, and so I would like to have a system in where the distribution of those things can be more equal. And the best way I see to do that is by giving people is by doing redistributive policies. Um, taking that's and I don't feel that as totalitarian at all. If anything, I see that as a very liberating thing because you're allowing a majority of the population to live without having to worry about starving to death.
Well, see, I've had this conversation with I think probably over 100 people at this point, and
Hmm.
it usually goes the same way, and it's usually a situation where somebody says capitalism is exploitative, and I say no, it's not, and they say yes, it is because you are forced to work a job, and then I say no, you're not. You can always quit because the state does not force you to work that job. We are past the era of when it's not slavery. It basically it's not slavery. If you want to quit and go for a different job or you want to go and start your own business, you have all these options. The only limiting factor is on your own self-care. And then the other person will say something along the lines of, well, no, it's still exploitative because you have a gun to your head and that gun is starvation. It's not the government's gun, but it is still a gun to your head. And then I say something along the
Well,
lines
part of
of,
it is the government's gun. Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, the government doesn't make you hungry. That is a natural state.
Uh, no, the government doesn't make you hungry, but the government upholds the system that exists currently and allows it to perpetuate itself. Now, um, on the issue of wage slavery.
Well, hold on. Let's actually
Oh,
follow
sorry.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's So you can finish. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's go down this road a bit more because I never get to the end of it, and people usually end up like leaving or something at this point. So I kind of
Yeah.
want to see where it goes. So what I usually end up saying is something along the lines of, well, do you like who should pay for your own food if not you? Like, so the idea is that you shouldn't have to work because you have a need, and therefore you having to work for money to fill that need is exploitative. Well, who else should pay for your needs other than you? Because that does seem to be your responsibility as a starter.
Oh. Oh, obviously. Well, who should pay for the need of someone who owns your business that you work at? Should uh because the guy who owns the business you work at gets his money from your labor. So why not also get some money back from him?
So we're talking about surplus value, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, I'm just saying that, like, the guy obviously relies on you working to make his money. So why not rely on him a little to make your food?
See, I don't actually believe that that conception of surplus labor is accurate because when it comes to working in a job, the people above you in that job also provide meaningful labor as well. So, like you say that okay, well, if you make something and then your company sells it for however dollar amount that it sells it for, but you make less than what they sell it for, that's surplus labor. And it's like, well, no, it's not because everybody else in the company also performs labor. Like the labor of your boss who is doing legitimate work as well, he also has to get paid. You know, it's like if you're in a
Oh,
grocery store, you know, like if you stock shelves and then the cashier, you know, rings the order through and you both get paid. Well, you're not getting paid what the person bought, but you both contributed and then somebody else contributed. You know, your manager contributed. The
yes,
guys
everyone
who drove
contributed.
around contributed. Yes, everyone
Yes,
contributes.
everyone contributed. And when you contribute, um, you deserve you deserve to have a say in how things are going. And that's a big problem with current capitalist firms is people you don't control who your boss is. Your boss determines who your boss is, who your manager is. Managers do important labor. CEOs do labor. Just the problem is that CEOs also get paid based on wildly disproportionately to what someone working gets paid. Someone who
We're talking about the whole worker co-op thing now. That's a different conversation. In terms
yeah,
of
it's a different
surplus
conversation.
value, though, in terms of
Yeah, yeah.
surplus value, I don't think that surplus value actually exists. I think all the value is accounted for by everybody up the food chain who provides meaningful labor.
No, I disagree. If that were the case, then there wouldn't be such a mass disparity between those who work and those who are CEOs and own the means of production. No, that's complete. No, I don't see how you can see that at all. I mean, i- if that was the case, then you would have to agree that Jeff Bezos works like however many billion monies he has harder than average Amazon employee,
Well, Jeff
or
Bezos
or
does
he contributes more
he
rather.
makes $81,000 a year.
Yeah,
That's his salary. That's what he contributes.
yeah. That's not just a salary though. He doesn't
That
just
is a
get money from
salary.
salary.
Well,
What?
that is a
No, no, no.
salary.
I'm saying he doesn't just get money from his salary. He gets a lot more money from his investments and the capital that comes in from the success of his company.
So
That's the
we're talking like the worth of the 11% of Amazon that he actually owns in stocks.
yes,
Because that's like the 200 billion. Yeah.
yes. That is a lot.
But it's not money. Like you can't sell that. I mean,
Well, I
you
mean,
can,
yeah,
but like you could sell that Amazon stock, but you wouldn't get 200 billion for it. You get a lot less because it
yeah.
would, and also it would like dumping 11% of a company's stock onto the market would massively devalue it and would probably destroy Amazon. It's like you can't really get at that money. It exists theoretically, but it's not real. You know.
Yeah, which is why I'm not saying that he should dump his stock. I'm saying that the money he makes from that stock should be redistributed to some of his workers via taxes,
Yeah,
mostly.
I mean, like here's the thing: like, you're not going to find me being some kind of no taxation libertarian, right? Like, I agree with the concept of a social safety net. However, in general, I do not think that surplus value exists. I really don't, and it's because everyone on the like people say that bosses do no real work. So yes, they do. Yes, they do. You know, people perform real work up the food chain. You just don't see it because you might be at the bottom of the food chain. You know,
They
like
do work. no, I just wanna be clear. They do work. It's just that the work they do versus the amount of, capital that they receive for that work, and, when I say capital, I mean not just, like, money, but also, like, social and at times political capital. That is should not be, that is not proportionate to the workers, what they get from working.
Why?
Uh, because despite, like, how long does fucking Jeff Bezos work in a day versus how long does a Amazon worker get in a day, and how much money do each of them get versus from all their sources of revenue?
Well, it's not just about how many hours you work. There's other factors that determine your pay, right?
Oh yeah, there's other factors like how much does a Amazon worker contribute to the work that goes in to make the company running versus how much does the board of directors contribute towards the work that makes the company running. And I
Mhm.
don't think that like the labor contributed into the company from the small board of directors is equal to the labor of all the fucking Amazon employees. Actually, not equal. Greater than the labor of all the Amazon employees who work at that factory.
Sure, but there's also other factors as well. I mean, there is the value of the labor because, a computer programmer's hour and then the hour of a stock person at a grocery store, they're doing very different jobs. They're both laboring
Yeah.
for that hour, but the labor itself is different. So there's different value to the labor. But also, this is one thing that I think a lot of people don't really get. It's it's the number of people that your labor impacts that greatly determines how much you get paid.
I completely agree. The number of people that your labor impacts.
Hmm.
How many people does the labor of all the Amazon workers can impact versus the amount that the board of the directors impacts? The board
Well,
of directors impacts a lot of people. If there weren't any Amazon workers stocking those fucking shelves, goodbye one day shipping.
sure, but I mean, if there weren't any board of directors, there wouldn't be a company for those workers to work at all.
Well, maybe you should sell the company to the workers and ask them, hey, vote for your new electives. Hey.
Well, do the workers have enough money to buy the company? I mean, probably not. Like, I'm not against the idea of worker co-ops. I'm completely like,
Mhm.
if they're created voluntarily, then fine. Like, there are some people who hate them, and I don't really get why. Like, if people want to come together and run a worker co-op, that's their business. But like, if someone privately owns a company and does not consent to having their property turned into worker co-op, they shouldn't be forced to.
Um, no, I'm not gonna wait for them. They can remain as like a boss at the company. The workers elect them, but for the most part, no. I
Well,
think.
you will have to use violence at some point if they say no.
Oh yeah, but the state. If you want to live in a state, like that's a given. You will always need to use violence when you live in a state. That's what a state is the monopolization of violence.
Yes, but the point of the liberal night watchman state is that violence is only used when someone's rights are violated, and you don't have
Yeah.
the right to somebody else's company.
Uh, no. Yeah. When someone's rights are violated, I don't believe rights are an inherent thing. I believe rights serve as much function as they do, or the value of rights depends on their function. If a right allows people to abuse other people, then I'd want to limit that right.
This is probably where the inalienable divide between us is that I do think that rights are something universal, and you think that they're subjective based on the culture. That's probably where this is coming from.
Not even based on the culture. I think it's subjective based on the utility they fulfill,
Okay,
and
yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
we just disagree on that then, but that's fine. Um, so yeah, in terms of how many people that you impact, though, like I always use the example of what was it? Okay, why is it that a teacher makes less money than a successful actor? And the answer can only be because of the number of people that the individual's labor impacts. So if a
Uh,
teacher has, a class of 50 students and they teach for 30 years, like how many students is that? Like a couple thousand, 3,000 or something? Um, Meanwhile, an actor who's wildly successful will have millions and millions of fans watching all of their movies or all of their shows or whatever it happens to be.
no, that's not the only answer at all. The answer is also that an actor has the ability to negotiate their contract,
Yes, there's that too. There,
which
there
won't
is
be.
that too for sure. But the idea is that if
Also, I agree with you. Teachers aren't paid what they should be.
I think they might be. I don't know. Like I actually I don't know the specific numbers of American teachers, so I can't really comment on it. But my point is that it makes sense for actors to make more than teachers because the work of an actor will enter into the lives of more people than the work of a teacher.
Uh, I depends on how you're calculating that, but even then, even if you base it on how many people they impact, uh, even then, like one actor probably shouldn't be paid as much as how many fucking what's the job of teachers and uh how many or whatever. Like it's wouldn't you agree that that the teacher should be able to argue for their contract as well as the actor is?
Yes, no, I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to be here simping for the American education system. From what I know of it, it's pretty shit.
it's awful.
Yeah, and like I do think that generally teachers should probably be making more,
I
but
mean, teaching is one of the most important jobs in our society. We need an educated populace.
you do.
Like,
Yes, I agree. But an individual teacher and an individual actor simply impact a very different amounts of people. Like that's the whole thing. Like if you have 10 customers and they each give you $1,000, you might feel rich. But if you have a million customers and they each give you $1, you are going to go so much farther. And that
okay,
is
see, this is
and
where this is where I think is another big divide between you and me is that um when I talk about like free world policies to implement, I'm thinking about structures. Now when we talk about morality, it is good to talk about like individuals and like individual events that happen, but I'm thinking of like the structure that exists and the systems that exist. And how we can change those systems to better reflect you know, well functioning society. Um, when I think of like, okay, actors being paid exorbitant amount of money versus teachers getting paid not as much money, but you know, much more money than they're getting paid now. I think what would be the systematic ramifications to this? The systematic ramifications to actors being paid exorbitant amounts of money, not that much. And it probably would be better even if they did made less money. I don't know. To teachers being paid more money, there would be much more positive systematic ramifications to that. We would have a much more educated populace and a much better education system.
it depends. There are other factors at play. For
Yeah, yeah,
example,
no, it's definitely more complicated than just, like, giving them more money, but that's
yeah,
a part of it, yeah.
like one big problem with both the teachers and the police, I think, are unions. And I know that the left loves their unions, but when your
Oh, baby, I
union when your union is protecting like shitty cops or it's protecting shitty teachers, you're making things worse, not better. Regardless
can
of the
can I rant about how much I hate the AFL for a second?
yeah, sure, go ahead. I will say
Fuck
though,
the AFL-CIO.
okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, fuck the AFL-CIO. Um, they are incredibly hierarchical, super bureaucratic, basically, like, union that was basically meant to be like anti-socialist and be like, oh, don't join the IWW or any like radical unions. Join this one so you could get like a little more crumbs off the master's table. Please don't become socialists. Basically, they're basically just meant are there to like stifle labor movements. Now, I'd rather them like exist than not exist, but fuck them still.
Well, see, this is the thing. Like, I do have to go in the next 5 to 10 minutes, if you don't
Oh yeah,
mind.
yeah.
But we
We
can
talk
do this
about
again sometime if you want down the road. But
sure.
like, when you say that you're an anarcho-communist,
Mhm.
and then the conversation leads us to a point where you say that you don't believe that rights are inherent, and that you'll have to eventually use violence. That
Yeah.
that trends a bit away from the anarcho side of things and trends a bit more towards the authoritarian side of things.
No, I disagree.
Because
No,
well, no, definitely because like I've done my reading at this point on Stalin and Lenin, and
fuck them.
they fuck, I'm sure, but they said similar things to you. They were true believers. They weren't just grifters who were like, oh yeah, we're gonna say that we're communists, we're gonna say that we're socialists, but we're actually just doing this just to take power. No, they actually believed in the theory, but by necessity, the theory led them to a point where they had to use violence on some people to expropriate the property.
Okay, two things. First. I always hate this. A lot of people say this is like, oh, this works in theory, but not in practice. If your thing doesn't work in practice, your theory is wrong. You have to go
Yes,
back and update the theory.
agreed.
Yeah. Second thing, um, no, violence. First of all, you can have a revolution without violence. You don't always need to get to violence. What I was saying was that like we live in a state. Ultimately, it's gonna come down to violence because the state is built upon violence. That's like that's the foundation of a state. Um, but no, I think we can have a society that isn't completely based around violence. Now, whether or not we can get that to that society without committing violence of our own is different. Is a really big conversation. Very fucking complicated thing. Um, but generally, I would say like, yeah, violence is the violence you use. It depends how you use it, and it's very contextual. Um, and it depends on the result of the violence.
I don't think
That's
so at
just
all. I think only self defensive violence is legitimate.
okay. Well, what about this? Because this is what Marx originally thought. What he believed was that there was going to be economic acceleration. Like there's going to be more unions and more people are going to, push and push and push to get their rights until a point where they like just push for full democratization of the means of production, full like ownership, worker ownership of the means of production. And then at that point, there's going to be a reactionary movement, a reaction from like the bourgeois and the reactionary elements of society. And they're going to try to destroy the like gains of the labor movement, and so the labor movement would have to like coalesce and like defend itself. That is like a civilizational wide form of self defense in that sense. Would you agree with that then?
No, I wouldn't,
Mhm.
because if you can ask people to democratize their property, but if they say no, that's where it ends. Like the workers would have to, by necessity, be the aggressors upon those who own the property.
Uh, yeah, I just don't see that as aggression. I see it as taking back power where there was a huge power imbalance,
Well,
and
yeah,
maybe you
no, no,
see that.
yeah, I
But
don't see it that way. I'm sorry. The way I
uh,
see it is like if you have built a means of production and then you have hired somebody else to work that means of production in exchange for a wage that you have both negotiated and consented to, that does not mean that the other person owns the means of production that you built.
Yeah, see, again, this is where the thing comes in where I don't really think about it from an individual level. I think of it from a systematic level. Like, you could, I guess, we could argue that on an individual level, the means of production, you make the means of production, someone works it, and you pay them a wage. But on like a systematic level, this will lead to things like wage slavery, where a majority of the population is scrounging to get as much money as possible to just survive and stuff. Um, no, I don't believe that at all. Morally, I condemn wage labor. It's not great.
I think it's fine, to be honest, as long as it's consensual, you know.
Not poggers.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, for me, it's like, if you consent to a job, you make a deal, you consent to the wage. It's consent. It doesn't cease being consent if just because there might be a power imbalance somewhere along the way.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely sees being consent the way I see it. Um, there's definitely like some form of coercion going on. It's not direct coercion, but there is coercion.
now we're back at the food argument, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
well, no one makes you hungry, so it's not really coercion because it's not like they put you in a state where you needed them to survive.
No,
You
they
know what
don't
I
put
mean?
you in that state, but
Yeah.
they know that you need them to survive, and they will take advantage of it.
They do and they don't. It really depends on the situation. Like, if you are actually in a if it's, I guess, your field or whatever, or you're in a certain country or whatever the case may be, where you it's what do they call it? It's a workers' market basically, where there's too many jobs and not enough workers, which actually does happen sometimes. Then
Yeah,
you can definitely negotiate your wage upward. And in fact, I think the reason that we do have mass immigration as a policy is because corporations want to avoid that. If you can bring in a bunch of workers, then you can drive the cost of labor down.
I don't think the immigrant mass immigration is a weird word. A lot of people like use mass. That's a kind of a weaselly. word that a lot of right wingers use. I'm not saying
I,
you're
I,
trying to be weakling,
yeah,
but
I'm just using the word that I know. I don't really know.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But you know what that when that actually happened was during feudalism. The Black Plague killed off like a fuck ton of serfs, and so serfs were able to reassert their rights as like, oh, uh well, you need actually really, really need me because there aren't a lot of serfs left, so you have to give me these benefits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's definitely how it happened for the most part. Yeah. From what I understand,
um,
anyway.
but here's my problem is that your thing of like there are inalienable rights can be used to justify even slavery. Um, that like there are rights that are inalienable, but the thing is, those rights are the rights that you believe are inalienable. That's subjective. Like the slave owner can say, "Well, my right to own a slave is inalienable," or the feudal lord says, "Well, it's my property, so my right to have serfs work on the land is inalienable." Like people have used this to justify a lot of horrible shit in the past. I think it makes much more sense morally to view rights contextually and of the benefit they give society, which is why rights have changed so much over history.
Well, to make all the BDSM kinksters in the chat room very happy, I will actually say that your right to own a slave, you probably do have that right. However, that does not mean that you have the right to own any specific person. If a person wants to willingly give themselves up to you, I think that should be fine.
Listen, no gods, no masters in the streets. Oh God, yes, master in the sheets. Okay.
but you know what I mean though, right? Like you can have the right to own people,
Yeah, the
but
problem of like
but like you don't have the right to own a specific person because they can say no. They have rights too.
yeah,
Like
there's the problem of
it's like an overlapping series of rights.
like consensual slavery is like, oh, what if someone wants to enslave themselves to someone else? It's like, yeah, that's a really iffy like moral thing. If generally I would trend on the side of like if they really want to do it and there's no form of like coercion there, then sure, let them do it. But it's just like I just think that's weird. I don't know.
Are you kink shaming now?
Yes, myself.
Yeah, see, because I view rights as inalienable, I don't think that you can own a person. However, this is the thing, and this kind of goes back to another topic. Like morality advances along the same track as technology does. So when we hear people like shaming Columbus, for example, I don't think that that's right because he was a product of his time. He did things that we find to be morally reprehensible today. They would be morally reprehensible if done today. But I mean, people
Columbus
people
is
had
a
to
weird.
figure hold on. People had to
Yeah,
figure out why things like slavery and colonizing and all of these other acts were actually bad. It was not apparent to them why they were bad. They had to figure it out. And thankfully, we have the benefit of having thought it through. 2,000 years or whatever it is of moral innovation on their part.
so Columbus specifically was a weird thing because even if in his day his methods were seen as like extreme and kind of fucked up, like even the Queen of Spain was like, "You're a fucking asshole, dude."
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that definitely happened, but it's still like a case of when people
Yeah.
talk about the colonization of North America, they're like, "Oh, you genocided a people." And it's like it's a war crime. It's like, well, it's not a war crime because it wasn't considered a war crime back when it happened. Like, like
Um.
there is the subjective standard right there.
Yeah, that is a subjective standard, and I think it's always been subjective. I don't believe in objective morality of any kind. Um. I will say, my roommate.
Wait, you don't?
No, I don't believe in objective morality. Fuck no.
Okay, well then why was it bad for the Nazis to exterminate the Jews?
Oh, because you're killing 6 million people.
Yeah, but by their morality, it was fine.
Yeah, by their morality, by mine, fuck you.
Yeah, but it's still just subjective morality. So what makes yours more important than theirs?
Uh, well, you see, my side had a huge military that went over and completely fucked them up, and
So
that's
so
why.
so it all boils down to might makes right then.
Um, Generally, I would say that I can make well, the rights we have like on the books. Oh yeah, it's totally might makes right. Like whichever state is strongest, their fucking morality is gonna be put over them. But generally with the Nazis, like yeah, I can make very good believe, very good arguments as to why you shouldn't genocide a group of people, and why that's a axiomatically that is a bad thing, and you shouldn't fucking do that. And if you do that, we're gonna send a huge fuck off army to make you stop.
Well, okay, but like that's still an argument from force. It's not an argument from any kind of morality. It's just if you do this, we will try to stop you.
Yeah, which we should.
Of
Like,
course, we like. I agree, we should, but I mean, I think
yeah.
there's something more there than just threat of force. I think there actually is a morality you can appeal to.
Yeah, there's a morality I can appeal to. You can reason out like why doing this is wrong, and you can, and while the morality isn't objective, the reasoning you can use sound reasoning to get to a good moral or ethical position. But that being said, that doesn't make it objective. I mean, it's the old thing of like show me 10 people who believe in objective morality, and I'll show you 10 different objective morals. Like everyone believes their own morality. Everyone who believes in objective morality believes their morality is objective. Like I don't.
Well, sure, but like I do think that there actually exists some kind of objective morality. I really do. And I think it's because whenever someone whenever like an ideology, doesn't matter what political persuasion, it can be left, right, communist, fascist, whatever, doesn't matter. But whenever a group calls for the extermination of another group, they never say that the killing itself is good. They say that the killing is necessary. So they recognize that they're doing a bad thing, but they believe themselves to be doing it for a good reason.
Yeah, but you also
So
believe that.
I think that is definitely like they're trying and failing, obviously, but they're trying
Yeah,
to appeal to some kind of objective morality there.
yeah, and you also believe that some killing is necessary as you in self defense, which I would agree with you on that.
Only self defense, yes.
Yeah, in self defense, we both agree that killing someone would be necessary.
Hmm.
Um,
I wouldn't say it's moral.
um,
I would rather not, you know.
well, obviously, uh, but if it's like you have to defend yourself from some dude coming at you with a knife, like I'm not gonna cry about it. I mean, I'll be sad that the situation had to happen, but we both agree. Everyone agrees that some level of violence is necessary. Um, it just depends. But on the issue of objective morality, no. Morals are very like I don't see how anyone can view morality as objective. Like everyone has their own version of morality. Everyone acts in the way they believe is the correct way, and all we can do is uh, the first one is either argue with someone and convince them that your version of morality is correct. The second one is take a big fuck off army and make them stop doing their fuck shit.
That's
And
all
while I
true.
prefer
That's all
to do the
true.
first one, and we can have a conversation of when we should do either of those two, um, like that's generally how morality is determined.
I know what you mean, but I do think I think that there is I think most morality actually is subjective. I think you're right on that. I think there's like a core. There's like some kind of anchor that everyone, unless you're like a sociopath, like out of the womb genetic disorder sociopath. I think there's a core that everyone shares. I think there has to be. I think there's something biological to it, and it's because
Um,
like we see certain behaviors in animals that lead to like a rudimentary understanding of cooperation. And it's like, well, if they understand cooperation, if they understand fairness, there's probably some kind of something that is objective. And I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you what it is, but I
no,
think there's something there.
but that's the thing. Okay, but you see the strength in saying that there's uh um like a biological thing that improves cooperation. That strengthens my argument because my argument is that um we should uh do everything to improve cooperation, and there is a biologically imperative, which I say imperative. That I'm using weasel words. Sorry. There is a biological a bit of biological.
I see you avoiding them. It's okay. I,
Yeah,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
yeah. There's like some biological thing that keeps us from that keeps us working well in a cooperative group. The thing, and but the rights that we say, oh, these rights will improve, will encourage this cooperation, which will improve our state of being. The like that's dependent on the context. It's dependent on the situation, and that is a call for subjective morality.
I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think what's happening here is like it in a practical manner. My rights are your responsibility. And now I'm kind of feeding into your argument a little bit, but we'll go down we'll go down a little bit because you talked about the practicality of free speech is that if someone censors you, you no longer have free speech. I say that your rights have been violated. You say they've been taken away. Either way, it doesn't matter. But the point is, if I have a right and we're agreeing to play by the same rules, you have a responsibility not to violate the right. So if I have a right to free speech, you have a responsibility not to censor me. And it also works the other way around. And I think that's what cooperation is. I think cooperation is the meeting of my rights and your responsibilities, and your and your rights and my responsibility. So I'm not like anti-cooperation here or anything, but I think that
no, I'm not saying you are.
I think that cooperation comes out of rights.
Yeah, but those rights are contextual depending on like the situation. And we'd agree there are times where like in the case of prisons where we have to take those rights away from people. You don't believe it's taking them away because they still have them. They're just like being suppressed. But functionally to me, suppressing a right and like taking them away, that's like that's just a distinction without a difference.
Well, what rights are taken away in prison?
You're not allowed to the freedom movement. I think we both agree that would be a good right. You're not allowed to
I actually don't believe that that's a right necessarily.
You don't believe freedom movement is a right?
I don't think you should be able to immigrate anywhere you want in the entire world. No.
Well, I'm not even talking about immigration. I'm just talking about like freedom to go where you want within the borders of this country.
Depends. I mean, if it's private property, no. If someone has private property and says you can't come in, then you can't go in.
Okay. What about the freedom to go out the jail or go down to the store, buy yourself a sandwich, and then just like hang around in the park or whatever?
Well, yeah, because that's all public property.
Movement that we all agree with.
Well, right? It's all public property though, so
yeah, exactly.
It's a different situation. Like freedom of movement is based on property rights as well.
What? Okay, but so is a prison though. Like we agree that you have we agree that we're not gonna like put you in jail for like just going hanging out in the park or go into some I don't know Antifa meeting where the fuck ever. Like
yeah, like obviously, like if you're in jail, you're not being allowed to leave the jail. But I don't think that's
another one is freedom of association. We have a right to associate with whoever we want as long as they also like want to associate with us.
Yes,
you're not allowed to do that in prison. You can't leave.
Well, no, because you can still contact people outside the prison. You know, you still have access to a phone. You can meet people. Like that is not infringed. It's limited. Like you have to like do it at a certain time, but it's not infringed.
Agree. Okay, we agree. We have to limit these rights at some level.
Well, I think what it is it's not it's not meant to limit those rights. It's meant to. The whole point of incarceration and other forms of legal punishment is to rectify somebody else's rights who have been infringed on, right?
No, I totally disagree. No, I think the point of incarceration should be reformation to make sure that like that thing doesn't happen again.
Oh, it should be both. Like yes, obviously we should have a system where criminals do not, commit a crime again after they leave the system. But it is also for punishment, and it has to also be for punishment.
No, I disagree. I think that can lead very easily to a revenge-based system. I can't, because again, to me, it's like, what function does it serve? Someone did a crime, we punish them. What function does that serve? There have been studies that show that like just like punishing people harshly for a crime doesn't deter that crime.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily harshly. It should be in line with the crime. I mean, like there's definitely, there's so many problems with the American justice system. I do not agree with the way.
Yeah, we both agree. Like the American justice system is totally fucked.
Yeah, but like let's say that someone gets their purse stolen on the street, right? And the guy runs away with the purse, and then the cops a block later tackle him, arrest him, and bring him to jail. Like, should there be a punishment for that? I say yes. It's not only about making sure he doesn't do that again. It's about making sure that the person who had their rights violated has some kind of remuneration.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. No, I think no. I think that when you focus on punishment instead of like reformation, then I know you will believe there should be some reformation. I don't see the point in just like punishing them. Like, yeah, that person should have should be compensated in some way or something, have some way to get over like whatever traumatic event happened to them, but like that's not gonna happen by just saying, "Oh, we're beating the shit out of this guy," or "We're punishing them by putting them in prison," or whatever. Like,
Well, I think with theft, it's like a monetary thing, isn't it?
yeah,
And
with theft is
that,
like
that,
a
that,
monetary thing. They should be
that
given their
sounds
money
fair.
back or whatever.
Well, no,
Or whatever.
not just their money back. You should be given more. I mean, because
Yeah,
because
I agree.
they should get back everything that was stolen to them, plus also something that compensates them for the fact that they attempted to steal from them and then their time was lost, and the whole thing.
Um,
Yeah.
One thing I would say is that like if someone has been like the victim of a crime or something, we should have a much more robust mental health system that allows them to get like to get therapy in case they have some forms of PTSD.
hmm And yeah, like
Uh,
I do, like I do think in general, like we probably throw people in jail way too much for crimes that, like, if you're smoking weed, like, come on, there's no reason to have like years in jail for smoking weed. That's bullshit. That's complete fucking bullshit. You know, like
yeah, we would.
but there is definitely a purpose for prisons. Like, there's no way that we're gonna agree that there's not. Like, there are times when someone just has to be fucking thrown away, and that is just, nope,
Uh,
that's where you go. You're in prison now for a while because you fucked up that
the
badly.
language we're using, let's kind of because like I don't believe in throwing someone away. I believe in like
Well, I'm
reprimand.
using, yeah, I'm being colloquial
Yeah,
here.
yeah, you're
Like,
being
yeah,
kind of hyperbolic. I get it,
yeah.
but like, uh, uh, prison's main function, I feel even if like you want to punish, like you would have to agree that you'd get better outcomes if prison's main function is to reform that person and make it so they can
Yes.
like go back to society.
Yep. No, I agree with that. Like the for-profit prisons of the United States are fucking terrible. We don't have those here in Canada, and I think we're doing better for it. You know?
Well, how can you not have that, dude? What the fuck?
No, we don't. We don't have
Crazy.
for-profit. No, all the prisons are run by the government here in
Yeah, no, I
Canada.
was making a joke of like
Oh.
government.
Yeah, they're run by the government, and basically the idea is, um, there are limits to what you can do, but if you are like a low risk, they will help you get back into society if you're a low risk of reoffending here in Canada. They'll give you some schooling while you're in there. Like, if it truly was a case where, like, you were young and you fucked up and it's like, oops, I was desperate or whatever, then the Canadians have basically figured out that you can turn that person into a model productive citizen who actually gets a job and actually, contributes to the economy and is not just a criminal, by giving them some sort of schooling while in prison. So that
Yeah,
does
this
happen here.
the Nords figured that out too. That like just reintegrating people back in society it just leads to way better fucking outcomes in
Yeah.
general.
I mean, there are some people you can't, and you just have to deal with that. But I think a lot of people you probably can.
Yeah, for the most part. No, I totally agree. Unless you have like some form of like uh really like mental problem, like some form of psychopathy or sociopathy that just did not allow you to be like um to like integrate very well into society without massive amounts of psychological help, then then in that case, then it's not really a place where you're going to be punished. It's like you can't help that. It's a you need to a place where you can get like medicinal help, basically psychological help.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree with that too. Yeah.
all right.
Well, I do have to go. I've run over time. This has been a lot of fun. I think really the only, like, the things that the main thing we disagree on is the source of rights, and I think you can see in our conversation how that, like, blooms out into a bunch of different topics, where it's not like I view you as evil. I just, like, okay, if you start with this core, I can see why you got to where you are. I just don't agree. You know?
Nah, nah, nah. Dude. As far as I'm concerned, you're a Nazi.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding. Nah, I'm kidding. This is a lot more productive than I expected it to be. Thank you, actually.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
Um, I hope to talk to you again in the future.
Yeah, we can do this again sometime, like down the road, if you want to do it again. So, sure, sure. Yeah, guys, I'll put this up on the BitChute after it's been processed in that.
Yeah, and if you want to hear me ramble over lefties more, go to the Doomer Pipeline and check us out.
All right, I'm gonna turn it off now. See you.
Ooh.